The Guardians got their best start in the Arizona series by Parker Messick making his major league debut. And of course, they lost. That leaves them in a precarious situation as they try to keep their playoff hopes alive.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome on in to another episode of Locked On Guardians. Thanks for being here with us today and making us part of your morning routine. It's our favorite half hour of the day, win or lose. We hope it is yours too, because for the next 30 minutes, we're talking Cleveland Guardians baseball from the majors, the minors, the draft. And we do it every single day as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, your Cleveland Guardians. Every day, I'm Justin Lada, one of your co-hosts. Been here since 2022, and I have been covering the Guardians minor league farm system since 2007. That's 18 years, and Parker Messick, one of the best starting debuts I've seen from one of those prospects.
He had the best debut since Cody Anderson. So for what that is worth.
Oh boy.
I am Jeff Ellis of Locked On Guardians, have been for all 1,500 plus episodes. Before I was brought into Locked On, when they expanded into baseball, one of the first people they brought, I was a longtime writer at Scout and 24/7, focused on prospects on the draft. And I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. And in addition to that, I want to take a quick second and give a big shout out to all of our everydayers. I was trying to pull up, one of the gentlemen in the chat, ACAB Randon 28, who said he got his bobblehead from you on Sunday.
All right. Thanks a lot. It was fun. I had a fun time doing that. Appreciate everybody who came to the line and chatted with me for a little bit. All right, on today's Locked On Guardians, we'll talk about if the Guardians' season is on the brink again in terms of their playoff hopes. We'll talk about the bullpen, who I may or may not have jinxed, that Jeff is really ready to call me out on. But we'll start today's episode talking about Parker Messick, because he pitched well enough to be the main story today, and most days he'd be the main story with how well he pitched. Before we get into all of that, today's episode of Locked On Guardians brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. And for a chance to win a dream golf trip or two to any golf tournament in the USA, visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Jeff, Parker Messick, let's just go right off the bat. Should he stay in the rotation the rest of the year based off one start? Let's just get it out of the way.
I'm never going to base anything off of one start. Let's be very honest about that.
What?
But that's not my approach. But I mean, you called him up, so I would think, if you're going to call him up, that it should be for the rest of the year. Like at this point in time, with this team and where they are, not wanting to, blow an option year for him, as it were, right? Like if he stays up, then they maintain that option. So I think on a lot of levels, it just makes a lot of sense for him to stay up. It was a great game. There's nothing but positives really to say about that game, that performance. I'm not going to base anything off of one game. But he did everything you could ask for, really, and more. It was, it's. I think they said the last pitcher to go that late, like I said, was Cody Anderson, who went 6 2/3 in his, and Messick went. He went 6 2/3 today. So it's the last time they had like a rookie starter go that deep, allowing 1 or less runs. So it's a tough team and a tough environment, and he did his part. He scattered some hits around there, but he worked quickly, and yeah, I mean. I don't. Who are you going to replace him with? You're already transitioning Cantillo back to a pen role, right? So I mean, there really isn't a option, is there?
Outside they didn't say that they were putting Cantillo back in the bullpen. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. They didn't say he was going back to the bullpen. So we'll see what happens there. But as we said on yesterday's show, if you didn't listen, we talked about how yes, if Cleveland is bringing up Parker Messick, they should keep him on the roster, because otherwise you send him back down, you burn the option, and he goes in the next season with only 2 options. That doesn't make any sense to do at this point, honestly. Like, Joey Cantillo's already going to use his from this year. He didn't burn one with Slade Ciccone yet at this point, so that's a good thing. He'll have his going the next year. You'll still have Logan Allen, and of course you have Gavin and Tanner. I think the real question is, next year you are going to bring John Means up in September. He made another start on Wednesday night. Let's push that off a little bit. Let's give some more love to Parker Messick, because that was a great game. I mean, I was most impressed by Parker Messick for the fact that he didn't try to be somebody he's not. He didn't put a lot of pressure on himself. He didn't go out there and chase swings and misses. He didn't try to throw too hard. Like, he literally stayed within himself, the things he can do. That's the kind of line that Parker Messick has. And this is not often has he gotten into the 7th inning in the minor leagues, and whether that's just, for his own protection in terms of pitch counts or innings limits. Like, he's only gotten the 7th inning twice in the minors this season. And he has actually given up that many runs, except for one time in AAA back on July 5th. He threw 7 shutout innings, but that was the kind of performance that Parker Messick can have. Like, is he going to do that every time out? Is he going to get hit? Of course he's going to get hit. Of course he's not always going to pitch that well, but that kind of line, I think, represents the upside of Parker Messick. That's what he can do when he commands the fastball the way he did, and when he gets swings and misses on the changeup, and he mixes in the breaking stuff. I do think that he's got to, work on the slider and the curveball a little bit, because those pitches are going to be key to him having success in the future. Those weren't exactly great pitches for him in his first outing, but the changeup was great, and he commanded his fastball wherever he wanted to, and that was huge for him. But for a guy making his major league debut in a game the Guardians really wanted to win, in a tough pitching environment, as we talked about on the other day's show, and a lineup that's pretty good, despite all the trades they made, I was really impressed with how the moment didn't overwhelm him. He didn't seem to get outside of himself. Like, this is a guy who pitched and looked like he had been there, done that before. Like, he didn't look fazed by anything. The game didn't speed up on him.
No, I mean, he did everything. Like I said, he did everything you could ask. He even kept his pitch count really low throughout this one. I was trying to see if I could pull up his exact number of pitches. But
83.
Yeah, I mean, I understood the why. I would have almost liked to have seen them see if he could just get you 7. So then you would set up for the 8th. And then they got it. Sometimes I feel like Vogt gets a little too in love with making some moves. It's like, okay, I got to go get Gaddis because we got the righty on, and I can understand, I understand the thought process, but sometimes it gets a little too cute with the execution. This game felt like one that we kind of saw that. Like, at that point in time, yes, there was the runner on first base, right, and it was someone who runs well, but it was with 2 outs. It's like, maybe just wait, just see what he can do there. Like, he's pitched well. If another runner reaches, then absolutely. But I just felt like let him pitch that there.
Yeah, the next batter was James McCann, who does hit lefties pretty well for the most part. He ended up flying out, so that worked. I mean, Hunter Gaddis got him out of that last inning.
Then you might have the clean 8th and the clean 9th, and that might give your bullpen a better chance than trying to. I mean, there's a reason why most closers don't do 4-out saves, and we've seen multiple attempts at that so far since Class A was lost. And now this is like, I mean, you can almost say now it's like 2 to 3 games we can directly say are the direct results of that suspension now.
Yeah, maybe. It's I don't know if you can say directly, but I mean, Class A had been pretty good for a while, but he was still, having some hiccups. I mean, the last game he pitched in, he had hiccups in, and at least
he did, but having some real depth, I think, rather than
for sure,
Carlos
you'd rather
Hernandez
have the depth.
Makes things a lot better.
Sure, it does. But I think you got to keep Parker Messick in the rotation after this. Like, obviously, A, for the option, but B, he just pitched like he earned it. And you want to go into next year, like, yeah, next year he may not be in the rotation. Like, he may be in AAA, but I would want to save that option next year and have him as your 6th starter. Because let's say you come back next season, you've got, Gavin and Tanner, and you've got Ciccone and Allen, and you want to add John Means to the mix next year, in theory, who, by the way, looked pretty good, I would say, on Wednesday night for Lake County. I'd bet on him to need at least one more start in the minors before he comes up, which puts him on track for September without having to make a 26-man move. You have to make a 40-man move. I don't know how that'll affect Messick, and I don't know how that'll affect everybody else, but at least next year you would have the option on Messick to make him your first guy up from Columbus. You wouldn't have to make it be Nikhazy or whoever else.
Your pitching is never going to stay healthy anyways. So
right, exactly. And you don't know when Ben Lively's going to be back, and Joey Cantillo's going to be out. Yeah, and you don't necessarily have Joey Cantillo won't have an option left next year, so he's not a guy you're going to be able to send up and down. He's got to be up next season too. So you want to preserve that flexibility for Parker Messick. And again, he earned it with that first start. I want to see him go out and do it again. I really do. That was a fun start to watch. It was really fun to see him go through that lineup, and go back and listen to our interview with him from March after the spring breakout game. All right. We'll talk more about the bullpen, as Jeff pointed out. I jinxed them. We'll talk more about this is a bad stretch for them if they can rebound, and we'll talk about the Guardians season and playoff hopes are on the brink. Coming up on the rest of this episode of Locked On Guardians. Almost nobody can name all their financial accounts, even what they're worth. If that's 401ks, properties, investments. If you don't have the full picture, you're going to end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money is going to help you. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. And it does all the heavy lifting for you. So you can link accounts in minutes. You can see clear data and get all categorization of your spending. You can finally feel in control of your money without having to go through complicated spreadsheets. I have a lot of accounts out there. I also need to do a better job of managing my money. My 401ks come from different jobs because I've had a couple different jobs and I'm also doing freelance work. And, we also want to make some home repairs this year too. So we want to have some financial goals, my wife and I, going forward. So we want to get on the same page with those. We want to use Monarch Money to do that together and make sure that we're building towards our future. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com/code LOCKEDONMLB. All right, Jeff, let it out. Tell everybody again how I am a jinx. The Guardians bullpen, Cade Smith, even though I know you don't agree with using him for the 4-out save, still got to execute that pitch. And I don't even know if it was a bad executed pitch. I think that Lourdes Gurriel just got one. And
he leads, he's got the most, RBIs are what they are. But I think I was listening to the Arizona broadcast. He leads the National League in RBIs over the last month. He's been on a heater.
Yeah, so he got him there. I'll give him that. The offense has to score more than 2 runs. You cannot. It's hard. That's why I said, I've been saying, the starting pitching is
bullpen's got to take care of business. When you have a save opportunity, full stop. Exactly. Offense was crap. Don't get me wrong, but that's
especially after the second inning. Yeah, they put up runs early, and then their approach just got terrible.
0 for 10 with runners in scoring position, bases loaded with 1 out, and you get 1 run. Part of the problem right now is Kyle Manzardo hasn't had a hit since the Miami series. After we're really praising his improvements, he's kind of gone back to swinging too hard and swinging over everything. I've got the data right over here. Since August 1st, Angel Martinez, 27 WRC plus, Nolan Jones, 18, David Fry, 43, Santana, 53, Gabby Arias, 57, Stephen Kwan, 57, Bo Naylor, 65, Schneemann, 98, Hedges, 104, Kafis, 104, Jose, 119, Rocchio, 121, Manzardo still at 131 with his recent struggles. But the problem is he's been really bad for about a week now, and then you pull him out of it, and they just don't have a lot else with that offense. Bullpen wise, it's just the whole bullpen is kind of wrecked this year. Can we be very honest about that? Between the loss of Class A,
that's a little bit far. I think wrecked is a little bit far.
The concept of this team's bullpen has been wrecked, and it's because a year ago you had a big 4, and
sure,
Class A is out of it. Herron is a borderline major league pitcher right now. He is really struggling. He was a big part of the implosion on the second game of the series. Nick Enright has had a really bad FIP in the second half. Teams have started to kind of figure him out, and I still believe in Enright. I still think he'll be good, but it has been a bit more, he's given up a lot more hits. He's not having the clean sheets. Cade has been good. Gaddis has rebounded after some of his struggles. But the problem right now is they just don't have those. Sabrowski has been good as well when he's had opportunities, but they've used him a lot. And it's just when you take away a bullpen that had 4 rock-solid pieces and you knock out 2 of them, it's a wreck. There's no way around it. They just don't have the support. It's been over the course of the season, it's been fine. Over the course of August and as a whole, they actually still have the best FIP in the month of August. Problem is, since your statement, they're more like middle of the pack. So they haven't completely imploded since your statements. They've just been more middle of the pack as opposed to being, dynamic. I think, again, asking pitchers to do things they don't normally do is a recipe for failure. I talked about that all postseason, how last postseason Vogt decided all of a sudden to change how his bullpen works, and it imploded. These guys asking them to carry over through multiple innings, that's not how bullpens and these guys really came up as pitchers. It's, asking 4 outs from Cade That's why you let Messick try to finish it, so you can go Gaddis in the 8th, Cade in the 9th, and you might have a better situation when they're just going out in that situation, knowing what they have to face. Logically, I can understand, like, hey, Corbin Carroll, I believe, was the guy they sent him out to get. Like, logically, I get, because he's really dynamic and he's dangerous. But you're over managing. It's the same thing like let's go get David Fry, who hasn't hit anything at all in August and had a good 2-week stretch in July, and that's it. Who's been arguably the worst hitter on this team, not named Martinez or Jones. Like, you're going to lose the DH. Let's say the other team doesn't do anything. I mean, they did. I mean, if Stephen Kwan is normal Stephen Kwan in terms of rage, maybe he gets that ball. Who knows? But, like, there's just this over managing right now in this game. And then, some of the ways the bullpens have been handled and when he's going to who and what, it's weird. I don't have a better way around it, but it's just been it's a frustrating bit right here. And the bullpen, like I said, it's decimated because it's also the young guys. You don't have Walters, who was a part of it last year. Like, you're counting on Walters to be a back end piece. Not only do you lose those 2 corner pieces, you haven't had Walters all year. Franco Alamon, I mean, he's probably not going to come up this year at this rate. Like, they have not had those pieces elevate that they expected to elevate, while having the core pieces regress. And the bullpen,
which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, which we knew would happen. It's amazing. It's been as good as it has been, frankly, with the Walters. I think the Walters injury, we don't probably talk about it enough in the grand scheme. Like, that has been, maybe if he's here, that helps change everything, and you have a little more overall depth. You can they've
definitely seen their depth erode, I will say, in the bullpen. Yeah, you lose Andrew Walters, and you never had Sam Henches to begin with, so you couldn't plan on that being part of it. But yeah, Trevor Stephan was not able to factor in either.
Never came back, really.
Yeah,
I mean, he did, but he didn't.
Right, and then obviously Class A is done, so. Yeah, and that's the reason they went out and signed Paul Sewald, who didn't work out. That's the reason they signed Jacob Junis, who has been solid, but
his numbers are solid. Really I wouldn't mind. I would not be upset if they gave him the same contract next year.
We could talk about that another time. I'm going to say this, though. I know you're saying you don't like how Vogt's handling the bullpen. I'm going to say this. He is not handling the bullpen any different than he did a year ago. He did the exact same things last year. Not necessarily in terms of going out and asking guys to do multiple innings, or, he did with Cade Smith quite a bit because he had Class A. He could do that. He was the Andrew Miller fireman last year. But a lot of what Vogt did last year was he tried to not overuse guys in terms of pitch count. He tried to, okay, I'm going to let you get the last out of this inning, and then the next 2 outs next inning. So you're only going to pitch 1 full inning, and I'm going to bring somebody else in to finish the inning. And that was his way of saying, okay, we can use you 2 or 3 days in a row because we're not going to burn you to 20 or 25 pitches. We're going to keep you at 11 to 12 while you try to get 3 outs. And that way we're not burning you out. That was what he did a year ago. And that's what worked. And he's not getting the same results this year, whether that's regression, like we talked about, which we knew was going to happen, lack of depth. He's doing the same things he did a year ago. The results have just changed.
Much. I could be wrong, but I feel like we saw a lot more. Like, 7th was Cade, 8th was Gaddis, 9th was Class A. You occasionally had Heron. Last year was very defined roles. It was not as much of what we're seeing this year.
It was those guys were getting an inning each. Cade Smith was the only guy who was doing multiple innings last year. So let's not act as if Cade Smith's never done it before. I know you're saying doing it as a closer is a little bit different, and maybe it is. But Cade Smith was a multiple inning reliever for them a year ago. He was constantly coming out in the 5th or 6th inning a year ago because he was the guy who had to come in when the starters didn't do well, because last year it was literally Tanner Bybee and Ben Lively until Matt Boyd arrived. So he had to come in the 5th and 6th inning, clean up your mess, and then you could go to Tim Herron and Cade Smith and Hunter Gaddis and Emmanuel Clase at that point. Plus, for a little bit, you had Scott Barlow, who was okay. So Vogt did a lot of similar things a year ago, and he got great results out of it. So I understand the process. The thing is, again, they've seen regression, which we knew was going to happen. They've lost depth, which they can't control. They tried to go out and build depth in Sewald and Junis, and it just didn't pan out the way they hoped. And at some point, you have to try to change your process because the results aren't there. But I understand why he's doing it, and it's just been unfortunate that he hasn't gotten the results. So I could talk more about the David Fry thing. We'll talk about more of that in a second. We'll finish up our conversation with the bullpen, the moves. And whether or not the Guardian season is on the brink once again for playoff hopes. We'll finish up with that conversation on this episode of Locked On Guardians.
Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. The grape ginger and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of golf course to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for singing birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're on the course or just need a little extra push to power through the day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. I am a terrible golfer. I don't have a lot of great golf day memories. I have not gone golfing in years. One of my favorite things, though, golf-wise, just go hit a bucket ball and talk with friends. Bucket of balls, I should say, and talk with friends. That's the way to do it. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy Snap and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the U.S. Tee up a trip. To tee up that trip, visit 5, the number, HEWin.com for the rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters. Ends October 31st, 2025.
Appreciate y'all making Locked On Guardians part of your morning routine. Make sure you are auto-downloading on audio so you can listen to us on your drive into work or whatever you're doing in the morning to get your day started with some Guardians talk. And hit the bell on YouTube so you can get every episode right into your phone as well, or your computer, as well as reaction videos to games, breaking news, and the LB Squad show that should be dropping your way on Friday. All right, Jeff. So we're finishing the conversation with the bullpen. I said that Vogt. It's kind of the same as it was a year ago.
I'll point this out real quick on the Cade Smith multi-innings. He actually didn't do it at all at the end of last year when they were setting up for the postseason. He only had it 3 times over the last 2 months. He had it 12. He did a lot in the first few months, and then it faded off. And then he's done it more times with Cade Smith since July than he did in the first half of the year. Still less than a year ago overall, but he definitely, it was something when Cade Smith was not the Cade Smith was the back end guy. It was a lot more common. And once Cade Smith moved in that 7th inning role, he kind of settled as more of the 7th inning guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just also the situation forced you to do it. They had to try to win that game. I definitely would trust Cade Smith against Corbin Carroll more than Hunter Gaddis, even though Gaddis has been better lately. I think the issue is Gaddis pitched on, well, he didn't pitch Tuesday. So I don't know. I don't know. I was going to say maybe he were saving him a little bit, but he didn't pitch on Tuesday. I don't know. I could see going to Gaddis, but the problem, or staying for Gaddis for Corbin Carroll, but at the same time, Cade Smith's the better matchup, especially if Hunter Gaddis is not throwing his changeup the way he used to, which I don't know that he now.
It just never seems to go well. There's a reason why teams don't do this. There's a reason why closers don't go for 4 inning saves hardly ever anymore. Yeah. It leads to less productivity.
Gaddis threw 3 changeups. None of them were for strikes. No swing and misses. So the changeup is still an issue for him right now. He didn't even get any whiffs in this game. So, it was a decent game overall. Only threw 12 pitches, but still not where he was a year ago. But anyway, I'm not gonna really blame Vogt for that. I'm also not gonna blame Cade Smith. Like, he just didn't have it. Like, he didn't give a run, or he gave him a run, and Gurriel hit him. Like, he threw a decent pitch. Gurriel's been hot. It happens. I still am gonna say more of the offense. It's very hard to win a game.
You're up in the 9th. You got to win it. I don't care.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying 2 runs is very hard to win with. And I still think, Cade Smith is the guy you need to lock it down at the end of the game. He gave up a home run. So that stinks. But 2 runs in the bottom of your lineup. I think we had a commenter say at the bottom of the lineup was like 2 for 22. It was horrible once again. So, and you were talking about like the David Fry thing too. Daniel Sheeman, and I get David Fry has been great this year. Daniel Sheeman's OPS against left-handers is below 500. Like, it's bad. He can't hit lefties. And Andrew Saalfrank is a very hard matchup for lefties. And you're using the double switch there, which Vogt has done a couple times this year. So even if you got to the spot in the order where the pitcher had to come up, it would have been the last spot. So you would have had to go through 8 batters to get there. So that was at least 3 more innings to get there at the very most. You would have, if you got there sooner, you might have scored some runs. It may not have mattered.
Fryman,
so I'm not really worried about that because
Fryman hasn't done anything at all this year to deserve that call in that situation. He's a tough lefty, and you know what?
Steven can't hit lefties either. So what's the point? What's the difference?
Well, then why mess around with it? Like,
because Fry has proven success against lefties. It may not be this year, but he has a track record, whereas the track record on Sheeman is that he doesn't hit lefties. You're still going by track record. You're trying to put yourself in the most
then the other
advantageous
part of it
matchup.
too is like, don't pull
You're
the
letting
other guys
recency
earlier.
bias cloud your decision making.
Like the other pinch hitting he did earlier in the game that were not as smart of decisions as well. Like
what?
I mean, this fake platoon situation where you've got like, so they bring him Santana for defense. They bring in Jones for defense. Is Jones really an upgrade over CJ Kafis? Like, it's like,
defensively,
I don't know.
Arm only, probably.
Yeah, it's like, it's the weirdness of that. It's having Fry in that situation because you've already pulled other players, and then it's like, and it's just
Sheeman has never hit lefties. Fry at least has. Those are both proven track. I mean, they're both longer track records than whatever you've seen this year. And what's
I would
happening
rather
this year,
take the guy, frankly, who's had 2 hits over the guy who's been one of your 3 worst hitters over the last month, while he's facing those lefties that he supposedly can hit. Like, he can't hit anything right now. So give me the guy who's had a hot day.
I don't buy it. I don't know. I don't buy it. If the guy can't hit him, he can't hit him. And you're going a longer track record. You're hoping at some point David Fry is going to figure it out and be something closer to what he was a year ago. He's got a
43 WRC plus this month.
I'm aware of that. I'm saying he was. You're not going to. Okay, we know last year was David Fry's peak. We know he's never going to repeat that again. He's more of a platoon bat, and it was based on a couple of months. But minor league track record says he's hit lefties before, and major league track record says he has as well. He was never going to get back to his full self this year, whatever that looks like.
Yes.
Because he spent the whole offseason recovering from Tommy John. So I was expecting mostly a year where he wasn't really going to add a whole lot anyway. I mean, we've talked before, like he probably should have been in AAA. Maybe he should be. You waffled on that too. You said he was terrible, and then he got good, and you're like, oh, maybe I was too hard on him, and now you're back to being,
He has versus lefties. His WRC plus this year is the same as Schneeman's. Versus lefties this year, he's the same.
But we're talking about a small sample with Fry, and we're talking about a year is coming off of an injury.
I'm saying in this moment for where he is right now, that's, it's 44 games.
You talk all the time about not letting small sample sizes cloud your decision.
44 games isn't a small sample size. He can't hit this year.
It is when you're coming off of an injury and you have
in this exact moment, he was the wrong call. He's the wrong player to be on the roster, and it's wrong to go to him because he can't hit. It doesn't matter what he did before, because right now who he is not good enough. And you're putting him in that situation. Guess what? He strikes out.
Steven hasn't hit lefties all year either. So
but he's hit it at the same rate that this year that Fry has in his opportunities. Like, going to Fry was dumb, because Fry shouldn't even be on this team right now because he can't do anything.
You said a week ago you were being too hard on him.
Well, and you know what happened? Then he cratered right back in. And it's like,
before, Jeff, jeez.
I mean, here's the thing though. It's like, okay, I was like, maybe I was wrong. And you know what happened? He proved I wasn't. Like, over given more playing time.
How do you let 2 weeks change your mind on all that?
Because I let the previous 2 weeks be like, okay, maybe I'm wrong in this situation. This guy's hitting in this month and it's not been 2 weeks. It's been the entire month of August. Like, he had a good 2 weeks coming back from the All-Star break. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this guy's figured it out. And you know what's happened? He's completely cratered back to being a guy. He's actually hitting righties better than lefties right now. He can't hit lefties. He is hitting lefties to a 51 WRC plus. Schneeman's at a 47 this year in sample sizes. He's striking out 37% of the time versus lefties. You're sending in a guy when you need contact who is K'ing at the highest rate on this team. That's why it's a bad call. You can look at the whole picture of the year and be like, I mean, I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. And you know what happened? Then we got more data and it's like, no, I was right. Like, I know the people who hate me are going to love hearing me say it that way. But I mean, Fry is not the guy to go to in that situation because you need contact, and Fry is not contact. Fry is anything but that. And he showed that by doing exactly what you expect. Like, there's no point in going to him there. You're not improving your odds.
I disagree, but we can let people in the comments settle that one. All right, real quickly before we get out of here, let's settle this too. Guardians, they are now behind the Royals in the AL Central. You can kiss that goodbye. Not that that ever mattered, really. They got it to, 5 games, I think, and that's been it.
Yeah.
They are also behind the Royals in terms of the wild card standings. Twice this year I've written the Guardians off. I've said after the 10-game losing streak, they were not coming back from it. And then I said after the Emmanuel Clase being placed on the not suspended list, whatever he's on, the season was over. And both times they've come back to defy me. So I'm not going to write them off, even though They went 1-5 or 1-5 in their last 6 games. But I can still say this: the Guardians should have won 4 of their last 6. They should have swept this series against the Diamondbacks. They should have won on Tuesday. They should have won on Wednesday. They should have won. They could have
levers
won
were pulled wrong. You're right. They should have won more of those games.
Well, they didn't get hits. Like Friday, they didn't get hits. Sunday they blew the lead, and last night they blew the lead, and today they blew the lead. So at the very least, they should have won 4 of their last 6, maybe 3. They should be 3-3 in their last 6 instead of 1-5. So I'm not going to write them off because they had a really hot stretch. They were due to cool off. The frustrating thing is that they lost to teams that are below 500 that were not buyers at the deadline, even though it matters when you play these teams. The Braves lineup is hot right now. They've gotten healthier. The Diamondbacks are still a decent team, even though they sold off. Things just didn't go well for them this year for a lot of other reasons. These are still teams you got to beat. This is the stretch where the Guardians should have been making up ground, should have been making their statement for the wild card, and instead they went 1-5 in their last 6. So they've got to turn around pretty quickly. I'm not going to declare them dead, but their heartbeat is dropping rapidly.
I'm closer to the declaration of death only because that was game 125. You've got to make up a bunch of games with 40 to go.
Time is not on their side.
That's what has me more than anything else. If I was going to give a declaration of death, to me, the bigger thing at this point is they got to try to, there's still an opportunity. The strength of schedule is 18th easiest in baseball. And a lot of teams are chasing, like Boston and Seattle. They got 3 with. Kansas City, 4 with. Still got the White Sox.
They have control. They have
Twins,
control.
Tampa, they've got 7 against. And Tampa is cratering. Texas, who's upcoming, cratering. So they've got some teams, but they have to step up. And the other part about this, I will say, is, you have to, they have to try to really get through that needle here real quickly. At the end, I'll say, let Kafis play every day in right field. Let Manzardo play every day at DH. It's time to be done with the Jones and the Fries of it. If you need to send those guys down for a depth piece, heck, let Petey Halpin get his moment of shine, because I don't think he'll be here in the offseason. At least he could be a guy who can run at the end and be a true defensive replacement if you want that. But it's time to let those guys who have a future beyond this year play every day. I'm 100% in that camp right now. I mean, they're doing it with Santana. They're starting to limit him. Like, it's time to limit more.
All right, I'm with you there. All right, tomorrow we'll talk more about prospects who should play. Heard Travis Bazzana up in September. We've been promising this conversation all week. We'll get to it tomorrow. We'll talk about prospects that didn't pan out. Those have been released recently, and we'll preview the Guardians and Rangers series tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us. Rate and review, downloading daily. It helps get new. You like when we get spicy. We got spicy in this one. We had some points. We didn't get along, so let us know what you think below. Thank you all for joining us, and go Guardians go. And can I also say it's nice